policies, you should be able to achieve this and beyond. The reason why I say so is that in 2024, we were able to exceed our domestic revenue targets. And so I believe that if they put in that same measure of diligence and work that we did, they should be able to achieve their revenue. And let me also put it that currently our tax to GDP is around 16.1%. And so moving from 16.1% to 18% is not that steep. And I expect that they should or they would be able to do that. Also, inflation, you said they hope to bring inflation to a single digit. In 2016, we inherited an inflation rate of 15.4%. But within 2 years, or within that same year, we're able to bring inflation down to a single digit. This has been done before. It depends on the policies that you bring. And I believe that if they should come out with policies, one, that will address what causes inflation, it will go a long way to help us in that regard. First and foremost, we need to attack or we need to look at food inflation, because that contributes a high component to the overall inflation numbers. So what are they doing in that area? I believe that if they should tackle food inflation, it will go a long way to also bring inflation numbers down. So these are some of the things that I believe that if they should address, they will be able and they can be able to achieve their targets, because the economy is on the path of recovery.
My last but one question to you. You know, the government is also trying as much as possible to cut down on expenditure to ensure that our fiscal consolidation continues. But over the years, we have been seeing budget overruns, budget deficit, revenue far below expenditure. Do you think this budget is going to continue the trend?
It all depends on your policies. Like I mentioned in the State of the Nation's address, President Mahama, in the State of the Nation's address, announced more than 4 or 5 policies, expansionary policies. And these are all expenditure driven. And so it depends on them, like I said. But if you want to cut down on expenditure and you want to introduce a Jumera, you want to introduce quite a number of other things, I believe that the most important thing for the president to do is to create an enabling environment for the private sector to pick these things up. Because usually most of these interventions are temporary. They are not permanent. So create that enabling environment for the private sector to pick these things up and rather run with it. For the private sector, they do long-term, employment, and they can help shift some of the expenditure from government to the private sector. So I believe that the expansionary policies he's bringing will not help, but rather create that enabling environment for the private sector to run with these initiatives for you. And then when the private sector does that, it takes away that burden on you. And at the same time, they offer long-term employment opportunities that in the end will increase productivity and affect the economy positively.
So at the end of this presentation, will you be surprised that